Hello, welcome to Hartford Infant School's Reception Class Workshop. Can we move to the next slide, please? Okay, so hopefully at the end of this meeting, what we hope is that you will know more about the new early years curriculum. You will understand how we assess at school, and then hopefully together we'll be able to make sure that we achieve the very, very best for your child whilst they're with us in their first year of school. Next slide, please.
Okay, so in reception we follow the early years curriculum, which has recently been redesigned. So the new version has become statutory on the 1st of September this year. As many of you might be aware, it's different to the national curriculum, which the rest of the school follows in year 1 and year 2. And our early years curriculum tells us how to teach and assess your child. There are a couple of documents, or more than a couple of documents, to kind of flesh out what we do. So the screen you can see Development Matters, and at Hartford Infant School we use the Development Matters document to support our curriculum, and the guidance within that is kind of woven into our practice and underpins a lot of what we do in reception. Okay, so there are 4 overarching principles or beliefs in the curriculum which we follow to help us ensure we provide the best care and education for your child. So the unique child strand recognises that all children are different, all children develop at different rates and paces, and therefore we try and meet the needs of all the children individually so that they can be as successful as they can be with us in their first year at school. In school we have a really excellent special needs coordinator, Vicky McGregor. If your child has any additional needs, she's here to support your child, to support us, and to support you with that. Another strand running through the curriculum is the positive relationship. So in the last 18 months or more, it's had to be quite different, as we haven't been able to build these in the usual way because of COVID. We haven't been able to do our home visits in the usual way or our indoor induction sessions in the usual way, but we did get out to visit many of the children in their preschool settings, and we were able to meet lots of you for our garden visits back in September. So, that, and also made some settling in phone calls. So we're looking forward to continuing to kind of get to know your child, getting to know you as parents over the coming weeks. We feel that when there's a really strong partnership between staff at school and between you as parents, then the children really flourish as the adults around them are kind of working as a team. So, one of our key aims is to work as well as we possibly can with you as parents, as you know your child better than anybody. So it's really useful to have that partnership. In reception, we provide an enabling environment through our indoor and our outdoor areas. So your child has access every day to quality indoor and outdoor resources to aid them with their learning, as well as adult support and encouragement and questioning and scaffolding to make sure they're making progress. And this year, all resources are being used in line with our risk assessment linked to COVID. Our curriculum is play-based, as this is a key theme of the earliest curriculum. We believe it's the best medium for children to learn in early years. The learning and development principle, so the last sort of strand, is emphasises the importance of children becoming lifelong learners. So one of the things we do is we teach children the characteristics of effective learning, which Miss Lee's about to talk about, such as problem solving, perseverance, teamwork, involvement, and trying your best and then being reflective. So all of these kind of strands are linked to our Hartford Heroes. So next slide, please.
So your children might have spoken about the Hartford Heroes already. They have started to be introduced to them in reception, and these 6 Hartford Heroes will be with them right the way through their journey at Hartford Infant School. So as Mrs. Eagle said, we have the skills of being resilient, we have the skills of teamwork, and we have the skills of persevering. What we did probably about 7 or 8 years ago was thought about how we could make these more accessible for the children, and hence the characters that we've created. So we have in the top left hand corner reflective recs, where we want the children to think about their learning and think about ways that they can improve it. Now this might be that they just try to look at their handwriting and maybe write up on the line. The next one we have is Teamwork Tiger. So we're very much about the children working together with their peers, maybe just talking about ideas, or maybe working collaboratively on a project together. Gosh, not doing very well on my speaking tonight. We also have Perseverance Parrot, which is in the right-hand corner. So we always tell the children, don't give up, keep on going. And then we have on the left-hand corner at the bottom, we have Involved Iguana. So we really want the children to join in with whatever we're doing. Then we have Aim High Hippo, which the children quite like to, he's quite a popular one for the children, so always trying to do our best. And then last but not least, we have Problem Solver Snake, and that's not just about maths, it's about problems that we encounter every day. Now the children will be recognised fulfilling these different Hartford Heroes across the day, and they will be praised by the class teacher, so well done being like Teamwork Tigers guys, that sort of thing. And then also each week, especially starting from the spring term, your child might get a certificate, and it'll be one of these Hartford Heroes on a certificate. We'll take a photograph. Now usually non-COVID times we'd invite you in, but unfortunately we've not been doing that the last year, so you will get a photograph of your child with their certificate and a little bit of spiel from the class teacher saying why that they got their Hartford Hero. So they become quite a regular feature of the children's life in school. Okay, next slide. We're on mute.
Sorry. Okay, we're going to chat to you a little bit more about the 7 areas of learning now that comprise our early years curriculum. So we've got the 3 prime areas that you can see there, and then our 4 specific areas. So I'm going to go through them and give you a little bit more detail about each one now. So next slide, please. Okay, so key prime area is communication and language. So this focuses around the listening, attention and understanding strands, and also your child's speaking skills. So, you know, we believe that communication language underpins all of the areas of learning. So we promote language through high quality interactions with the children. We model, we engage in lots of role play with the children. We listen to them, we respond to conversations and respond to stories through our learning environment. So one of the lovely things that we have in reception and through the school is we have story shelves. So these were updated through the year, and we have like a theme book. Your child might have come home and talked to you about the Peace at Last book, which we've been reading together this half term. And there's lots of things that we do around that. So there's speaking and listening games, role play activities, and this is all part of something we do called Talk for Writing, which means that by the end of the year, your child will know several stories really well and off by heart, and hopefully, you know, using actions and props as well. And we find this really helps them with their reading and their writing. We promote key vocabulary that the children are learning through our working rules in school. So we would have like, this would be sort of across our curriculum. And as a school, we also use Makaton, which is a type of signing, and that supports children with that might have communication difficulties, but all children love to learn, you know, the Makaton signs for the characters in the story and for lots of other greetings. At Hartford Infant School, oracy is a really important part of our curriculum, so we're continuing to develop our oracy curriculum, which focuses on learning to talk and also talking to learn. So as part of this in reception, we teach children sentence stems, which they can use to answer questions in full sentences, and then later they use them to write sentences. So we do that right from the beginning. So in our phonics curriculum, for example, we might be talking about some pictures that we can see, and the sentence starter might be I can see, and then it gives the children that kind of structure for speaking. So there's children that perhaps find it harder to think about what they want to say and put it into words. We give them lots of scaffolding and support as part of our oracy curriculum. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so the new curriculum has changed ever so slightly in terms of the sub areas of it. So we've got gross motor skills and fine motor skills now. So you know, we feel that physical development is really integral to children's learning, and you know, the children are active daily through planned activities and you know, through open activities that we offer through the setting. And in addition to this, we also have PE sessions every week. At the moment we're doing sort of dance and gymnastics, but that kind of progresses through the year, and we visit all areas of physical curriculum. We encourage children to do lots and lots of finger gym activities. Lots of you might have had a go at the homework activity this week, and there were lots of different ideas. It's been lovely to see the children sharing their finger gym exercise and things they've been doing to strengthen their muscles. So we believe that, you know, the children really need to develop their upper body strength all the way down their arms, and, you know, really use some gross motor movements and then some fine motor skills to kind of get that readiness for writing and readiness for using a pencil. We're hoping to strengthen all of those muscles in their arms and chest, and then also give them the opportunity to practice a well-developed pincer grip. I'm holding my pen just while I'm explaining. So, and when the children are ready, we begin to learn letters. So we teach at Hartford Heroes School in reception, we learn letters with an outstroke. So we use elements of the Think Right scheme, which the Key Stage 1 children use. So we use farmyard characters as a way to encourage your child to kind of form the letters correctly. Another thing we do that's really physical that the children love is our forest school. So hopefully you've been seeing lots of posts on Tapestry about that. We think that's a really important lesson in terms of like fostering healthy, active lifestyles. And through the year, they'll do lots and lots of different things that are physical and really get those muscles moving. And they would include things like den building, tree climbing, and all sorts of like really exciting things that are really physical in their basis. Okay, next slide, please.
Okay, so it's me. So one of the last areas is personal, social and emotional development. Now we've been working very hard on that this last half term. So trying to make sure that your child can take turns, is able to settle into school life, making new friends within the classrooms and following the many routines that they have to do, which are completely different to their preschool. We also, to help the children across the school, have 7 golden rules. So if we can go to the next slide, please. And you'll be able to see a tiny little poster in the right hand side of the screen that shows you the golden rules. There are 7 of them. We call them numbers in boxes. That's the way that we celebrate them. So when the children are caught using any of the golden rules within school, we often say, we'll have a number in a box, and the children become very au fait with these and they'll say, which number then? And I go, oh, hang on a minute. And I usually say, oh, number 4 for working hard if it's an activity in the classroom. However, across the school, if they're at lunchtime and they have good manners, the midday supervisors will say, oh, have a number 7 because you've just used the words please. So we're always talking to them about all the positive things that they can do in school to make Hartford Infant School a happy and safe place. You are free to use these. You're very welcome to use these at home and download the posters which are on our website and help you if you need to with your children, just as that continuity between home and school. At some point your child will bring home a certificate and it'll have little boxes with numbers in them, hence why we call it numbers in boxes. So in the boxes there might be quite a few 4s, quite a few number 1s, that sort of thing. Number 3 is one of the ones that we find very difficult with the children because of it's a challenge, isn't it, to be able to say, oh, I've done something wrong and I'm going to own up to it. But we do recognise that the children are honest, and when they do that we give them a number 3. So they've been in the school for before I even started, and I started in 2004, so they are very well embedded in our school. Okay, I shall leave that there. Thank you. Next slide.
Okay, so as is common with most of the early years curriculum, there are lots and lots of commonalities between all the areas of learning, and they all mesh together. So I've talked a little bit about the communication and language thread, which runs really closely with our literacy thread. So this is one of the specific areas. So reading is primarily taught through our phonics sessions. So in those lessons, we'll be teaching the children the letter sounds and the names. And, as we progress through, we'll be teaching the children to segment individual letters in words and then blend them together to read. And we'll also be teaching them to read some words by sight. So a little bit later in this half term, we'll be sharing a phonics workshop similar to this one, but it's likely to be a recorded one. So I'll record that for you so you can watch it at your leisure. Every week we'll read with your child and send a new book home for them to share. So if you could keep this in your child's book bag, that means that whenever we have a moment we can share your child's, so swap your child's current book and then share a new one with them. And initially as well, a lot of these books might be wordless, so we're focusing on language skills and storytelling skills, and then over time when we've taught more sounds and the children are more confident, then we will begin to send home books that have words in, and when the children are confident with their blending as well, we tend to do that. And so initially we would expect you to be sharing the book with your child, so maybe retelling or reading it with them, but then over time hopefully they'll be able to talk to you a little bit more about how we blend and segment in reception. And you know, hopefully this is something you can do as often as possible. So daily would be fantastic, if not as regularly as you can manage. And also if you share the real book alongside our online reading opportunities via Bug Club. So I think that's something that a lot of people have access, but if you don't, if you have been unable to access it, please do contact me via the office or drop me an email, and I can check your login for you and get you set up with that, because we find the children really enjoy that as an interactive way of sharing the books, and there are quizzes too. At the beginning of October, certain reading cards were sent home as a special incentive to encourage the children to enjoy reading at home. So and all of that information is in Mrs. Lee's letter. So if you have a look at that letter for more information, we've got so many children inundating Mrs. Lee with the reading cards. So really lovely to see so many children sharing books at home and really getting interested in their reading and really proud of their learning. Next slide. Okay, so on this slide, we've just got the ELG stands for Early Learning Goals. So these are, I want to emphasise that these are the end of year expectations for children. So, you know, this is something that we're working towards. It's kind of in the back of our minds, you know, where we'd like the children to be at what we call expected level of development by the time they finish their time with us. But this is a very long way off now. So this is just to give you an idea of like where we're heading, and lots of things that we do, you know, build the foundations towards this. So, you know, there's lots of, I talked about talk for writing before, so the second bullet on comprehension, so anticipate key events and stories. These are things that we do already with the children. So this is kind of our end point, if you like. So this is, you know, what we're aiming for and what we're working towards. So we have the next slide. So if I tell you a little bit more about writing. So I've mentioned that we teach phonics, and that's a key area of our writing teaching, but also we have literacy sessions. So, you know, we would focus these quite often on the book that we're sharing, and also we teach literacy and writing through small group work. So once the children are confident with many of their letter sounds, we'll help them to break words down, listen for the sounds they can hear, and then have a go at writing them. And, you know, our focus on oracy really helps children with their writing too. So we're wanting them to orally kind of compose what they're going to say, think about and talk about what they're going to write, you know, because we believe that if you're unable to use words to kind of talk about what you'd like to write, then, you know, you won't be able to get to that stage where you're being able to write down words and sentences. We recognise that learning to write will probably be the greatest challenge that your child will face in reception, and that's because, you know, writing is a difficult, tricky skill to master. But, you know, not only that, we live in a technological age where writing is kind of a dying art, but it's still an essential skill for, you know, essential skill for life. So it's something that, you know, it goes hand in hand with the phonics, but also it's a physically difficult thing to do, as I mentioned, the fine motor skills when we were talking about physical development. So it's a challenge for the children, but it's one that they, you know, really rise to. Okay, we look at the next slide. So this just shows you a little bit of progression. So if you have a look, this kind of gives you an example of what progression in writing might look like across the reception year. So the one on the left, that's kind of emergent writing. So there are some letter shapes there. So the child said to an adult, "My dolly is called Barbie," and then they've made some marks so that, you know, and they've told an adult that they were writing "my dolly." So, you know, they're basically ascribing meanings to the marks. And then if you look at the next picture, so somebody's segmented, they've recognised it's the word box, and they've segmented it into the 3 separate sounds you can hear in the word, which is great. And then if we have a look at the end, you can see it's a little aim high hippo stamp at the top there. So this child has had a go at writing like a simple sentence. So it's cat in the hat, and you've got dog in the mud, but then they've run out of space for mud, so they've put it just in front of dog. But you can see, you know, they're developing an awareness of separate words and kind of putting spaces in. You know, so you can kind of see across the year where we're kind of the children are developing. Okay, next slide. Okay, and then this is, we talked a little bit earlier about the early learning goals. So this is what perhaps a piece of on-track writing might look like. So as we emphasise, this is the end of the year. So, you know, this is quite a, you know, competent writer. They've got finger spaces between their words. They've got you know, thought about the sounds that they can hear, and they've applied their knowledge of the phonic and the sounds they can hear to kind of help them with that. So this is kind of what an expected piece of writing might look like at the end of reception year. If we go on to the next slide, so these are the expectations. So you can see, you know, a lot of the children already writing recognisable letters and learning to form them correctly. So this is something that's in progress through the year, but this, as I've said, is the end point. So this is, you know, to be on track and have an expected level of development in writing at the end of reception there. This is the kind of things we'd be working towards with your children. Okay, so if we move on to maths. Okay, so in reception, maths is really hands-on and practical. So your child will be introduced to using a range of resources, lots of hands-on things to support them as they develop their awareness of numbers and of shape and measure. You know, the number in our reception curriculums, or the new curriculum, focuses on counting to and ordering numbers to 10, and then using these numbers to kind of solve problems. And children will also be learning to verbally count beyond, you know, beyond 10 to 20, and then beyond that as well. So recognising the pattern of the number system. And, you know, every day there's incidental maths to everything that we do. So we'll count how many children are having packed lunch. We'll count out, we'll get the children to pay for snack and work out the different ways they can use the coins, you know. So we do lots and lots of different things to kind of support them with their development. A key part of the new curriculum is subitizing. So your child might have come home and said they've been in some subitizing, you know, so it's basically recognizing quantities without counting and using lots and lots of their knowledge to kind of apply to different areas. So knowing some number bonds to 10, introducing some doubles facts, and thinking about pattern as well. So just like we do at school, it's really useful that if at home you can make the most of as many opportunities as you can for like everyday maths. So it can be something as easy as counting the steps as you walk up the stairs, or, you know, looking at how many apples and pears you've got in your fruit bowl and kind of maybe combining those numbers together. So lots and lots of different things that you can do to kind of support your child with maths. And another key element of maths, despite the fact that they're taken out of our early learning goals at the end of reception year, we haven't forgotten the other important areas of maths. So we're thinking about measuring shape and space. We're thinking about capacity and weight. So again, through all lots of hands-on activities, your child will be, you know, exploring those concepts and using the language as well. Okay, so if you move on, the next two are just slides just to give you an idea. All of this information is available online as well, and as Mrs. Lee mentioned, this workshop is available as well, so don't feel you have to memorise this. It just gives you a rough idea of the end points at reception, so the things we're working on with your children throughout the year. And then the next slide is the numerical patterns. So this is maybe looking at counting beyond and thinking about patterns within number, and these are the expectations for that. So if you go on to the next slide, so this is another specific area. This is understanding the world. So you can see, you know, we've got cracking on this already this half term. We've grown some crest. The children were fascinated with that. So it focuses on the children making sense of the world. So, you know, this will form the foundations for science, for geography, for history. So it supports their curiosity. It encourages them to question how things work and sort of explore how things happen. And it also covers technology. So we're, you know, through this, we're encouraging children to develop their thinking skills and their curiosity as they explore our learning environment. And as I've said, it's woven through everything we do. So yes, we did grow crest, but also there's so much of this going on all the time throughout everything that we do, and also Forest School and other sort of areas of our learning. So if we go on to the next slide. So this is the last specific area we'll talk about. So this is the expressive arts and design. So you know, this area is really focused on the children's interests. So the children will be taught key art and design skills, and then they can then apply those and choose how to use them. So in the last couple of weeks, we've been doing some colour mixing with the children, and we did that in an exploratory way, but then kind of supported the children with that. And then this week it's in our environment, and the children are freely using those resources, you know, following their own interests. There's been some amazing colour mixing today across, you know, the reception classes, because the children have got those skills and now they're applying them and showing us what they know. So the children have access to really high quality open-ended resources, and they can use their imagination and kind of just explore. We really love to see any creations that you've made at home, so please upload any photos of these to Tapestry, because the children love to share what they've done. So if your child builds any models or makes anything fabulous, does any artwork, then we always love to see that on Tapestry. Okay, next slide. Okay, so in reception, assessment happens all year around. So we're continuously checking where your children are, what their next steps might be, so what we think they can do now and what they need to do next, so we can help them to get there. So all reception assessment is observation based, so we don't have any formal tests at this stage. And at the end of the year, the teachers and the teaching teams will decide whether your child is working at the standard expected for their age group, and will assess them against the early learning goals, which you've seen on the previous slides. So we will judge them as being expected or emerging. So at the beginning of the school year, You know, one of the things we do is we get to know your child through lots of play opportunities and get to know where they are. And this is our way of carrying out an informal baseline. And this helps us to track your child's achievements. So we kind of work out what they come to Hartford Infant School able to do. And from that, we can work out what the next steps might be to support them to make progress. And alongside this year, we have completed the newly introduced baseline assessments. This is a statutory assessment that has been new for this year, and all reception classes in the country have done this and then submitted it and then we've used some of the data for our own records too. At the end of the reception year, we will complete the early years foundation stage profile. So what we'll do again is we'll be pulling together all the knowledge we have of your child and their development to decide whether we feel their expected level of development in each area of their learning. So children who are on track, so you know, children who have achieved their age-related expectations will then go into greater depth within these areas rather than moving on to the Key Stage 1 curriculum. So we'll be focusing on broadening and deepening the learning rather than moving them on too quickly. Part of our new curriculum this year is there's no external moderation. So we used to have local authority, or we used to have perhaps a moderation visit where we would be supported, or we would kind of discuss our judgments, but we're continuing to do what we consider to be best practice. So we've got moderation within our settings and across our Academy Trust, and also we have optional kind of moderation chats as part of our early years advisory. Okay.
Oh, it's me again. So many of you will already be using Tapestry, which is our online learning journal, and that this Tapestry will move with them through out their school. So at the moment you're using the early years Tapestry journals, and the teachers are posting different photographs on there of work that the children have done. There might be also some other bits and pieces on Tapestry that you won't see right at this moment, but you might see later on in the early years foundation stage profile meetings at the end of the year. Now, at the moment, we would love it if more people could use Tapestry to post up pictures of things that have happened at home. So videos, probably no more than 2 minutes, so and photographs of things that are happening at home. Obviously, if it's linked to the learning, that's fabulous, but it might be something else. You might go for a walk up in Hinchinbrook Park and your child's shown a massive interest in den building or something like that. And what the teachers will do in class is share these photographs with the children in class, and they love this. All the children love to show off, you know, something from home. It's a great way of, like the old show and tell sort of thing that we used to do when we were little, when we'd bring in something from home. Now you can bring in photographs and little videos. So please upload anything from home, that'd be super. Obviously the teachers will continue to post up pictures from school. Sometimes there might be quite a few. It depends on what the activities are each week. And sometimes, you know, you might want to just comment on those pictures that you see. That's lovely. But if you want to communicate with the class teachers, the best way is to use their email. And everybody's email is basically their initial of their first name and their surname, and that's followed by @hartfordinfantschool.org. And that's the best way to communicate with class teachers, not through the Tapestry, because we don't always check Tapestry all the time. We would check our emails regularly on a daily basis. So looking forward to seeing more Tapestry from home. I think that's it for my slide. Thank you. Oh, it's me again now. I'm just going to talk you very, very quickly through morning routine. So we're going to have a bit of a change after half term. So school will still start at 8:40. We'll still have our 2 lines, class 1 and class 2 lines, but instead of facing towards the main playground, they're going to face towards the entrance to the preschool garden. Class teachers will come out that way, so you'll see them. So rather than the class teachers coming round a corner like they have been, they'll come through the reception gardens, through the preschool gardens. They'll meet you at those blue gates, and then they'll take the two classes straight the way through. All they'll need with them obviously is their book bag with a water bottle. Hopefully that's with fresh water. We don't encourage juice at this at school. And then you'll just wave goodbye. They'll go in, and we'll see them at the end of the day. So if we move to the next slide. Oh, right, yeah. So during the day, your child will obviously have snack. Hopefully they've been talking about that and trying the different fruits and vegetables that are provided. So there's free fruit and vegetables provided every day for every child in the infant school. And it's obviously seasonal, so there will be strawberries probably in the summer term, but sometimes they introduce them to something completely new, like sugar snaps and things like that. We encourage the children to have we say like investigate the fruit, and especially when they say, oh, I've never tried one of these before, so sniff it, have a little lick, have a little taste, and encourage them to eat it. If they really don't like it, then obviously we're not going to force them to. There is opportunities for them to drink milk at this stage as well, so every child under the age of 5 is entitled to free school milk. If your child is under pupil premium, then they can have free school milk right the way through their time at Hartford Infant School. But once they turn 5, you can pay for it, and all you need to do is contact the school office for that. Obviously, the children have their water bottles, and as I said, please no flavoured water or squash. If the children have a school pack, a pack lunch that they bring to school, then please pop another drink in there for them. Obviously, if they have a free school meal, then they have water as well. And then just to make sure that everybody's engaging with the free school meals that every child's entitled to. So if your child doesn't like anything on the menu that School Grid are advertising, then fine, bring in a packed lunch, make sure it's a healthy one. So if there are chocolate bars in there and sweets, we will just we won't confiscate them, but we will just put them to one side and just return them to you at the end of the day. But we try to encourage them to have the free school meal. There is usually a choice. If you don't get to choose your child's meal before 7:30 in the morning, it's quite early, they will just resort to a standard jacket potato. I can't speak at all this evening. A jacket potato. So if they don't like jacket potato, you need to phone into school really, really quickly. So we'll do our very best to try and get them the right meal that they would like. Right, I think we're going to move on to the next slide. And then at the end of the day, we'll still finish at 3:10, and the children will come through those gates that they entered in the morning. So the class teachers will come out of the classrooms, walk through the reception gardens and the preschool gardens to yourselves there. So you will no longer need to line up and wait for them on the front playground. It'll be on that little side bit there. We're more than happy to let the children go with another adult as long as we know in advance. So please, if you are going to be late or you know that you can't collect, give the school a ring, because if we won't let the child go home with somebody, even if we know them as another parent, unless we've had your permission to do that. And sometimes that can sort of go to an awkward conversation. It's not that we don't trust, it's just that we have to be really, really sure. So you can pop it in an email or telephone us, and if it's a regular thing where you go, oh, I'm really happy for my child's friend's mum to pick up as and when, that's fine, just pop that in an email so we can refer to that. We'll put that on our registration documents. Right, should we move to the next slide? Right, so just the last little bit is just little extras, just to remind you that PE is every week, and that we would encourage the children to come to school wearing their kit. As the weather gets colder, then we would suggest that the children wear tracksuit bottoms and layers so that they can take those off. Sometimes PE is inside and sometimes we go outside, and we're encouraged at the moment with COVID-19 to make sure we are outside as much as possible. So just making sure they've got appropriate footwear for outside. So sandals aren't great for running in, but trainers are. And we also have Forest School, which is weekly. And again, I would say layers, even if you think it's quite sunny outside, once you get down into Forest School, it's very, very shady, so it can become quite chilly. And there are, as much as they are moving around in Forest School, there are times where we just say to the children, let's just stop and let's just have like a little bit of thinking time. And they'll prop themselves up on one of the little wooden stools that are out there, and that's when they could get a bit chilly. So we just say make sure that you have got some warm layered clothing on, and layers is appropriate with long sleeves. And hopefully, like I said, you'll see on Tapestry some photographs of the children's learning, and that's pretty much it. I think we're going to the last slide now. Oh, just before we do though, sorry. Okay, well, That's fine. Just before we do, just to remind you that our school website has so much information on it. So each half term we will upload onto the year group and subject areas the learning leaflets and the inquiry organisers. So the learning leaflets just give you a flavour of what we're learning over the half term, just so you can have that conversation with your child. But also the inquiry organisers are a really good way of supporting your child at home with the vocabulary and different aspects of learning. And these are all on our school website, and we will send them out to you by email as well. But it's just a great way. If your child comes home from school and says, you say, what have you been up to? And they'll probably say nothing, or they won't tell you. They have been up to loads. They are constantly dipping into all sorts of things, from the phonics through to the arts, through to forest school, PE, maths. They do so much in their 6 hours with us. So, and obviously it's quite challenging to remember everything. So the learning leaflets, inquiry organisers, and on our weekly newsletter we'll also give you a bit of a flavour of what we've been learning and what we're going to get up to the following week. So you'll be able to prompt your child a bit better in that way. Right, that is me stopping now. So as we said on there, let the fun continue. We've really been enjoying your children over this last half term, getting to know them. They're a fantastic bunch in both classrooms. Some really lovely relationships developing there between the children and the adults in school. It's really now a chance for any questions.
So there aren't any questions yet, but if anybody that's watching, there should be a button on your screen with a question mark in it. If you do have a question that you'd like to ask, then we'll be here for a couple of minutes if you just want to type it in.
We do run an open door policy, so if you go away from this meeting and you re-watch it, or you think, gosh, what did Mrs. Eagle mean by such and such, and then, you know, our door is always open. I'm always out on the playground every day, so you can try and catch me, and I'm happy to try and answer any questions to support you and your child. And if anything doesn't make sense, please ask us. We've been here many years, and we do things automatically, and we know why we do things the way that we do, but to you as new people, you might be thinking, well, why do they do it that way? So come and ask us, and we're always open to new ideas as well. So if you think, gosh, that seems quite a laborious way of doing things, why do they do that? And then you tell us, well, how about this? You know, we will listen to you, and if we can make that reasonable adjustment, then we will. We're hopefully a very reflective school.
Somebody's asked here, how can I find out where my child needs support during the term? Okay,
so Mrs. Eagle.
Okay, well, if it's a specific area that you're worried about, so a couple of parents have already talked to me a little bit perhaps about the phonics, so that's something you can drop me an email about, or maybe catch me at the end of the day. End of the day is always a little bit easier to chat than at the beginning of the day, because obviously we're on a staggered start at this time, so we're trying to get the children, you know, into school and kind of begin our day. So you can always come and find myself or Miss Reed or Mrs. Wiltshire. If there is a particular area of learning that you're worried about, as Mrs. Lee mentioned, the learning leaflet should give you a really good idea of what we're teaching each half term. And as Mrs. Lee has mentioned, the curriculum and the different areas of the curriculum, there's so much, you know, to explore via our website. So hopefully any questions you might have might be, you know, the answers might be there for you. If you have a particular concern regarding your child or a particular area, then, you know, the best port of call is to perhaps come and speak to us. But we also offer, there are parent evening calls coming up soon to kind of discuss progress. Is that right, Mrs. Lee?
So in December we'll be doing, we won't probably be inviting people to come in, but we'll do them through the telephone again, and you'll be able to ask, you know, pertinent questions about your child. But if you think, gosh, that's such a long way away, don't hesitate to just grab one of us on the playground. Like Mrs. Eagle says, at the end of the day, it's much better, and we can just talk through and just support you the best way possible, and point you in to resources that are out there online that we use, that sort of thing.
No other questions, just a comment here that says, thank you so much for all of the helpful information and for taking the time to talk through this with us.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, well, that's lovely. Thank you. That's really lovely. I do apologise for all my talking. I've said the wrong words tonight. I think it's been a long half term.
I've got a cold, so I don't know what I sound like as well. I'm very sorry. Hope you can understand what I'm saying.
I think it's just been a very long half term. Your children are doing amazingly well, and hopefully we can get through to Friday and all have a lovely restful break over half term. Okay, so if there aren't any more questions, well, I think we'll finish. Thank you so much for everybody for joining us, and we will make this into a video and put it on YouTube. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.